Welcome everybody to today's session as part of the Blue Loop Festival of Innovation, looking at emerging trends in retail and dining within visitor attractions and museums. We're going to be first hearing from Carl Durrant from Warner Brothers, and later on speaking to Anne-Marie from the Natural History Museum of Denmark in Copenhagen. But to kick off, we're going to look at some of the world's most popular IP-based attractions through cultural and retail experiences, and explore the key similarities and differences between them and the museum sector as well. So to start, Carl, would you like to introduce yourself and share a little bit more about your background and role at Warner Brothers?
Yes, hello. So I'm Carl Durrant. I'm the Senior Vice President and General Manager for retail within the Warner Brothers Discovery Global Experiences Group. I've been with Warner Brothers Discovery for about 7 years. And my remit right now is essentially overseeing all end-to-end retail for that group. That includes the operation of all of our locations, our warehouse and logistics. That also includes our product development, so our merchandising, our buying and design functions, and it includes as well our e-commerce platform. I've always essentially worked in retail. Before 7 years in Warner Brothers, I was 10 years with Nike, or Nike, depending where you're based. Before that, I worked in the Middle East with Alshaya, with the biggest retail company in the Middle East. And then before that, I was with Arcadia for 10 years. So really, all of my career in some form of retail.
Fantastic. Well, I guess since the original studio tour opened in 2012, it'd be interesting to know how your view on how retail and dining has evolved as part of the Warner Brothers visitor experiences, and also what that offer looks like today across the projects that you're responsible for.
Yes, so opening the original Warner Brothers studio tour in 2012, it's been a phenomenally successful business with growing numbers year on year. In 2018-19, decision was made to expand that outside of the UK with both a robust retail standalone platform expansion and a tour expansion. So in terms of the journey of the expansion, first kind of journey outside of the UK came in 2021 when we opened our standalone flagship location in New York, in the heart of the Flatiron district. That was a 23,000 square foot flagship Harry Potter store that incorporated both retail and an F&B element. Very, very successful foray into standalone retail. After that, we launched our digital platform. So we launched harrypottershop.co.uk the year after. Then our studio tour expansion took off by opening the studio tour in Tokyo in 2023. And that had both a very robust tour, but also a large retail and F&B component. After the studio tour in Tokyo, we then continued to accelerate our footprint. We opened our standalone Harry Potter shop in Chicago in April of 2025. That was a 20,000 square foot store that also incorporated retail and F&B, followed swiftly by Harajuku in Japan. In the Tokyo district. That opened in the summer of 2025. That's an 11,000 square foot retail location that also incorporates an F&B element. And we'll continue to expand. We have the opening of the Shanghai tour in 2027 and a robust retail footprint that will expand over the next few years. So it's been a real story of growth. Also, we've grown in a consistent and mindful way, so we haven't gone wide. We've really researched where our locations are. And while we now have 8 locations 7 locations plus the e-commerce, they are very, very high turnover locations. So the actual business size is very, very large.
Great. Well, I guess it'd be really interesting to hear, as you've gone on that expansion journey, what you've learned around creating experiences globally around the world. And I guess particularly from a visitor perspective, what are the things that they really resonate with, and that you feel have been really successful for Warner Brothers?
Okay, so I think the biggest learning for us is learning about our fans and our customers and how they are so alike in many aspects and how they are so different in many others. And learning that is a bit of a minefield, because as a brand going into new markets, you have to look at localizing the offer. You cannot just take your offer and cram it into a market and expect it to work. You have to be respectful and mindful of the trends and the needs in the different markets. At the same time, with our Harry Potter IP, we've got a really, really strong DNA. We've got a really strong British DNA. And that is also something that fans want to see when we bring our concept to new markets. So finding the blend between localizing an offer but staying true to the DNA has been our biggest learning curve. Get it right, it's incredibly lucrative and successful. Get it wrong, it can result in some markdown to take care of. So that is something that you can't really. You can do a lot of market research, but until you're really embedded in the market and seeing what resonates, that's when you really start to learn. So that's probably been a big learning for us. I think the other learn for us is how to operationally get a really great retail offer, a really great F&B offer, and some immersive interactive experiences into a space, and still make it commercial. And that's also a very fine line to tread.
Yeah, a delicate balancing act. So I guess a lot of people see what you are doing around the world as being at the forefront of experiential retail. So I guess in terms of what do you think it is that Warner Brothers does particularly well when it comes to creating memorable shopping and dining experiences, and perhaps that does link in with the localization aspect as well?
Yeah, I think we would look at three areas to excel in, and it would be around the product, the service, and the environment. It sounds a little bit cliche, but it is kind of true for how we're successful. So starting with product, we really make sure that the product that's in our locations, not only is it the best presentation of the brand, but it's unique and it's bespoke and it's only available in certain locations. So in all of our stores, we kind of break our assortment in product into what we call a core assortment, which is what you will see in all of our stores around the world. And they are kind of the fan favorites, the replicated items, the items that you expect to see when you go into one of our stores. That makes up about 70% of the assortment, and 30% is what we call seasonal, bespoke. That is product that is rotated. It's only in the store for about 3 months maximum. And again, another percentage of that product is exclusive only to the set location. So within product, we really have a reason to come in to get that product because it's the only location that you're going to get that product. In terms of the service, we really obsess our recruitment. We want to make sure that our people that work in our stores are just as fanatical about the brand as the fans that are coming in. So we kind of have an environment where we have fans serving fans, and that creates a real rapport. And often, some of our fans that are coming in are super fans, and they're going to really engage in conversations and celebrate the fandom with our team. And the third pillar there is the environment. And we are blessed. We are lucky that we have an incredible IP to work with. We've got an incredible author that created this richness within the books. We've got incredible filmmakers that brought those books to life on screen. And because of that, we've got an unbelievable array of recognizable elements that we can recreate in our stores and celebrate in our stores. So the environments, when you walk into one of our stores, it really feels like an incredible Harry Potter experience. And there's layers within the store that are going to appeal to multiple levels of fandom. So if a casual fan or even someone that's not familiar with the IP walks into one of our stores, it will feel like a pretty cool environment, pretty new, pretty unique, pretty exciting. If you're a fan, you're going to recognize a lot of the elements, a lot of the key elements within the IP. If you're a super fan, there's going to be small, secret, hidden Easter eggs that they're kind of like if you know moments. So our store appeals and the environments appeal on many, many levels, from the ultra super fan to someone that's just casually passing by. Get those three things right, and you have a really, really unique, successful environment.
So I guess, how do you tie some of those elements in terms of product and environment together through the sort of richness of the IP? Could you give us some examples maybe in some of the current stores that you have where that's worked really well?
Yeah, all of our store locations, not only in terms of the product being unique, but the design is unique as well. And that kind of 70-30 rule kind of applies to the design of the stores as well. So 70% of the design will be recognizable, 30% will be unique. That uniqueness usually or always comes from inspiration from the city and the location that we're in. So a couple of examples of that: our Harajuku store in Tokyo is right next to Yoyogi Park. It's the biggest park in Tokyo. It's a place of tranquility. People go there to really escape from the chaos of city life. That fitted perfectly with a Forbidden Forest concept within our IP. So our store in Harajuku is based around the Forbidden Forest. There's Forbidden Forest elements that are built into the store. And as well as that, we've got product created that is unique. It's based on the Forbidden Forest. So we kind of tie that whole piece together, gives us bespoke, unique product, celebrates our location, and celebrates a localized connection to the city.
Great. Well, I guess in terms of retail and dining and visitor attractions, from Lumsden's perspective, we've always tried to see the spaces that we work on as seamless extensions of the overall experience. But what's interesting about your projects is you're also looking at sites within an attraction, but also separate in these sort of standout flagship locations. So maybe could you talk to us a little bit about the difference between the two, and how you see retail as extensions of the brand and the overall experience for Warner Brothers?
Yes, and it is definitely something that we continue to obsess around, how our standalone stores differ from our tour retail locations and the F&B as well. Again, it sounds a little bit cliched, but the retail and the F&B in our tour spaces is definitely an extension of the experience. It is not something we've latched on. It is not something we think we can squeeze extra value from. It's a deeply integrated part of the overall journey. When you leave our tour in London and in Tokyo, the grand finale to the tour is the Hogwarts Castle, which is absolutely magnificent recreation of the Hogwarts Castle. You leave that space, you walk into our retail space, and you're kind of continuing an incredible journey immersed in the brand. But now you're able to see the things that you've seen in the films, the things that you've seen or read about in the books. You then can see them physically in through the lens of product. So it really does feel like an extension of the experience. The revenues that we generate there don't feel like they're squeezed. It feels like they're organic and natural, and it's people that want to kind of continue to have that time in our spaces and want to continue to invest into that product. Same for F&B. F&B in our tours is integrated into part of the journey, and it's a way you can really, again, immerse yourself, integrate yourself with the IP. Our food is very, is crafted to be a celebration of the IP, to help you continue that journey of immersing yourself into the brand. Butterbeer is a massive asset for us. It's one of the most popular things we do, but within the books and within the films, the concept of drinking a butterbeer with your friends is one that really resonates. You can do that for real in our spaces. When it comes to our standalone retail, we've got to think a little bit differently, because in our tour retail experiences, that's a ticketed experience of someone's come. They're very much a captured audience. In our standalone retail experiences, there's no ticket, there's no entry price. So our spend per head tends to drop a little bit. And the seasonality and the newness we need to inject in our standalone stores is greater than it is in our tour experiences. So in our tour Probably our super fans are going to come once a year. Maybe some ultra fans might come twice a year, but it's more of a year. Maybe if you're a casual fan, maybe it's once every 3 years. So the need to have newness is not so great. In our standalone stores, fans can come in every week. So our product drops in our standalone stores tend to be a lot more frequent than they are in our tour experiences.
So do you see the flagship stores and the sort of satellite locations as almost a hub for fans, sort of somewhere for them to reconnect with themselves more frequently and with the IP more frequently?
Yeah, we definitely see much more ability to be able to drive those engagement moments. We run like book signing events with Mina Lima. That always brings the fans together. We're looking at doing more kind of F&B events, like parties, like planned events. So yeah, definitely we're seeing our stores become a bit of a hub for the fans to meet and celebrate together.
So I guess on that one, how do you balance authenticity and storytelling and all the components that the fans love with commercial performance?
That's a tough question, and it's where the finance teams clash with the brand teams. It is another fine tightrope that you need to walk. Again, getting it right is very, very successful. I always view it as a pendulum that can swing. You have the commercial pendulum on the left, and you have the brand on the right, and you've got to try and balance that right in the middle. We need to make sure our locations are commercially viable. We can't continue to roll these out if they aren't generating some form of return. So we are very much focused on the commerciality. What we look at is where in our locations, where in our stores can we really drive that commercial aspect, where we can really drive a high density, and where are the spaces we can turn over to a bit more of a branded experience versus a commercially driving experience. We will map out on our locations where we can put the more kind of interactive, immersive elements, and where are the areas we're going to really drive a huge return. Again, it's a tightrope. We need to make sure that the real estate we pick can support that, and we do have quite specific needs in terms of how big a store we need. If we go too small on the location, we're not able to bring all these elements to life. So yeah, it's a really tricky tightrope to walk. I would always try and pitch it right in the middle, that you can kind of take advantage of both of those elements. But it is definitely not easy.
So I guess based on your background in mainstream retail and now the Wizarding World, what are the things that you think that mainstream retail can learn from in terms of the work that you do with Warner Brothers and other visitor attractions?
Yeah, I think you've always got to ask yourself a question: what is the motivation to come to our location? What are we offering that is unique? We are absolutely, clear that we are not a distribution point for product. If you're able to buy the product online, then you have to ask yourself, well, what is the reason to come into our locations? So we're always looking for that. What is our USP in our stores? What is the reason to come in? And once we can make sure we've got enough of an experience for coming into our locations, and again, for those three elements, as long as we can really make sure that in all three of those areas, product, service, environment, we're offering something unique, that's going to make sure that we're going to continue to have people coming back to our locations. So, I guess it's always asking yourself the question, why are people going to come into our location? If you can't answer that question, that's probably an issue.
And I suppose that's why you aim to have an element of uniqueness to each of your flagship stores around the world as well.
Yes, exactly. Uniqueness in the product, uniqueness in the design of the spaces, unique product. And again, it's a fine line, because if you have product that's only available in one location, it can cause some frustration. So again, that amount of product that's unique, you can't have too much, because then you really are going to, well, first of all, operationally, it's going to be hard to manage. And secondly, you're going to frustrate people that can't get that product. So you've got to make sure the product offer is robust, And then there's that small element that is the icing on the cake, which is the product that's only available in that specific location. We normally keep that product that's exclusive for that individual location. We normally have that very much based around location, i.e. this is New York labeled product, this is Tokyo labeled product, which gives it a kind of authenticity and a reason why it's only available in that one location.
So you talked a little bit earlier about flexibility and seasonality. How do you achieve that with an IP so rich but also memorable as Harry Potter, and always keep things able to flex around changing visitor expectations or seasonality?
Yeah, I think we're very fortunate that with an IP that's so strong and so popular, a lot of the tentpole moments within the franchise also fit into commercial moments in a retail calendar. Christmas in the Wizarding World is obviously a huge part of the books and the films. It's a huge part of our commercial calendar as well. As is, we have Dark Arts season, which very much corresponds to Halloween. We have a Back to Hogwarts period, which is when all the kids go off to Hogwarts on the 1st of September. That fits in nicely with our back to school calendar. So there's good opportunities for us to tie into a retail calendar with our commercial, with our franchise moments. So that's a big advantage for us. We make sure that we have a 18-month, 24-month product calendar. So we're always working on minimum 18 months, normally 24 months in advance, to make sure we've got a robust lineup of product coming in. In terms of F&B, this actually tends to be a good advantage for us, that we can tie the F&B into those tentpole moments as well. But also the lead times on food products are actually a lot short, well, much shorter than they are for product. So our product timelines are minimum 18 months. For food, it's more like 3 to 4 weeks. So we work with a variety of suppliers for our F&B items, and we constantly have newness coming into our F&B space as well.
Great. And I guess that ties in with social media as well. I mean, in terms of seasonality, you had enormous success with the Christmas tree this year at King's Cross.
Yes, I mean, the social media is our biggest marketing platform, without a doubt. Again, the fans, they're the ones that come in, they're the ones that enjoy it, they're the ones that post their experiences online. It's kind of a win-win for us, and definitely the more opportunities we give people in our locations to capture themselves enjoying that moment, the more those moments get spread via social, and it's a very, very powerful tool for us. Exactly.
Great. Could you talk to us a little bit about sustainability at Warner Brothers, and maybe some of the goals or influences that you see around product sourcing and sort of supply chains and so on?
Yeah, we're very, very mindful of our supply chains. We're constantly removing additional packaging where we can. We've removed plastic packaging on our butterbeer cartons, for example. We've changed our butterbeer cups so they're a stackable option, which takes up about 30% less space on shipping routes. We've moved away completely from plastic. All of our bags are paper. We're mindful every single product that we create, every trade, so every logistical route that we pick, we're always incredibly mindful of the footprint that we're leaving. We've still got a lot of work to do here, but we're constantly seeking to reduce our waste as much as we can.
What's the biggest challenge that your business is facing at the moment? Are you able to give us any insights there?
Yeah, I don't think there'll be any surprises. It's a tough environment to be in retail and visitor attractions right now. Don't want to go into the obvious, but the cost of living crisis is real. People are making mindful decisions on where they spend their money. We've got to make sure that we keep delivering amazing experiences that people want to invest into, and make sure that we're continuing to obsess pricing to make sure that we are pricing these experiences in a reasonable manner. So that's probably, everybody is facing that challenge, and it won't be any surprise to anyone that we're also facing that and making sure that we have plans in place to combat that. Global shipping continues to be a challenge. Tariffs continues to be a challenge. I don't think anything I'm saying is going to be unique to anybody working in retail, but I don't think anybody is exempt from those challenges.
Okay, so lastly, just on that point around storytelling and connecting that up with photo opportunities or in-store experiences, or maybe personalized products, could you talk about some of the things that have really resonated in the last sort of 12 months with your visitors?
Yeah, so I mentioned the bespoke product in our locations, and I guess another layer in terms of our USP is the personalization that you can have on our product. We have a whole array of product that you can personalize in our spaces. So not only is the product unique, but it also has a unique layer on top, which is to be able to personalize it with your own name, with your own details, or your own personalized message. All of our locations were able to personalize a wand. We're able to personalize a robe. We're able to create a personalized trunk with your initials on. We're able to personalize stationery, pens, jewelry. This all adds another element to the bespoke nature of our product in our stores.
Great. Well, thank you very much for your time today, Carl. We'll leave it there.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, so for the second part of this session, we're joined by Anne-Marie from the Natural History Museum of Denmark. We were just joined for the first half by Carl from Warner Brothers, who talked a little bit about retail and F&B across their attractions and retail worldwide. And we thought it would be really interesting to contrast the worlds of Harry Potter and Fantastic Beasts with your world, Anne-Marie, which is obviously about the awe and wonder of the natural world. So welcome to the session. Firstly, I wondered if you could just start by introducing yourself and sharing a little bit about your background and also your role at the Natural History Museum in Copenhagen.
Thank you, James, and thank you for having me. Well, as head of commercial activities at the Natural History Museum Denmark, I oversee all revenue generating activities as well as key operational areas to ensure a holistic and high quality visitor experience. My scope spans ticketing, retail, food and beverage, events, product development and licensing across all our venues, which are all situated in the Botanical Garden here in the city center of Copenhagen, including the new museum building that we will talk about more later on, I'm sure. My background actually began in the corporate sector, where I worked for professional services firms such as strategic management consultancy firm McKinsey & Company and global law firm Clifford Chance. But after some years, I realized I wanted to apply my skills in a context that felt more meaningful to me. So I made a deliberate shift into the cultural sector. And since then, I've had senior roles across commercial operations, communications, marketing, fundraising at several museums in both Denmark and in the Netherlands.
Great, thank you. Well, could you tell us a little bit more about the Natural History Museum project in Copenhagen and what makes it so unique?
Yeah, well, maybe first briefly something about the museum. The Natural History Museum Denmark is one of the country's 3 national museums. It's located right in the heart of Copenhagen, as I already said, just before in the Botanical Garden, which is actually the museum's living collection. We are part of the University of Copenhagen, and the institution today is a result of a merger of 4 scientific entities, the Zoological Museum, the Geological and the Botanical Museum and the Botanical Garden. And the new museum project is substantial. In total, it covers more than 30,000 square meters. Half of that is newly built space, and the other half consists of beautifully restored heritage buildings. These historic buildings, they date from around 1890 to the early 1900s, and originally housed the Polytechnic Institute of the University of Copenhagen. Out of the more than 30,000 square meters that our project entails, about 2,000 square meters are dedicated to public-facing areas that I'm responsible for. So that means a large shop, ticketing area, restaurant, cafe, event spaces, and more. It's also a project with a long history. It's been in development for more than 15 years. So there's a great deal of anticipation and excitement around finally bringing it to life in the spring of 2027, so early next year. What makes this project truly unique is, I think, three things. First, we're bringing together Denmark's geological, zoological, botanical collections under one roof for the very first time. Secondly, we are able to create a complete seamless journey between the botanical garden and the new museum building. We can connect all buildings and spaces, including the commercial ones, and I think that is quite special, through immersive storytelling and consistent touch points. And that gives us the opportunity to shape every moment of the visitor experience in a holistic and very intentional way.
Okay, so obviously I'm very aware of the project and I've spent a lot of time with you in Copenhagen, and understand the beauty of the scale of the project and the gardens themselves. But it's also interesting in a way to compare that to the Warner Brothers studio tour that we heard about from Carl earlier. So I wonder if you could tell us a little bit more about the retail and dining offerings and the commercial aspects across your entire estate at the heart of Copenhagen.
Yes, well, our retail and dining offer is built around two principles: honoring what already works exceptionally well and elevating the experience with new high-quality spaces in the upcoming museum buildings. The spaces that you know very well, James, because we're working on that project together. On the retail side, we will continue operating our very successful plant shop at the Botanical Gardens main entrance, for example. It's a small space. It's just only over 30 square meters, plus an outdoor area, but it performs very well. Its strength lies in a highly curated selection of Danish-grown specialty plants, bulbs and seeds, complemented by a thoughtful assortment of gifts. But in addition to that, we will open a much larger shop in the new museum building. The retail space is 350 square meters, located in the main entrance hall. And the hall itself is quite spectacular because it is the former machine hall with a ceiling height of about 10 meters. So it offers a fantastic setting for a flagship retail experience that we are creating there. On the food and beverage side, we will continue operating our popular kiosks in the Botanical Garden. They're essentially covered wagons, but they play a big role in the visitor experience because guests love picking up a good coffee or an organic ice cream and simply enjoying the garden. But as part of the new museum, we will open 2 new F&B venues. The restaurant located in the historic former boiler house, and that includes an outdoor terrace with beautiful views over the garden, and a cafe situated in one of the main heritage buildings of the museum.
So you've mentioned there several aspects of the site, including the garden, the heritage building, and the contemporary spaces that have been built underground. And we talk a lot about creating a seamless visitor journey across all aspects of the site. So I wonder if you could tell us a little bit about your view on retail and dining in museums and how they're evolving from support services into core elements of the visitor experience and journey.
Yeah, they've really evolved, haven't they? Traditionally, museum retail and dining were seen as peripheral support services, often outsourced, which is still the case, of course, in some countries and in some instances, with limited or more limited attention to its content and a focus on convenience rather than experience. And I believe that has changed significantly. Today's museum visitors expect an exceptional, holistic experience, and retail and dining play an essential role in shaping that. Museums increasingly also recognize that memorable moments outside the galleries can deepen engagement and help convert visitors into ambassadors for the museum's mission. And that shift is supported by broader trends, for example, in cultural tourism, I was involved in a recent discussion with the European Travel Commission indicating a shift who indicates a shift towards more purpose-driven travel. People are seeking experiences that offer value, authenticity, and alignment with the price they pay. And in that context, F&B and retail are no longer optional extras. They are core touch points that influence how visitors perceive the entire visits. And to meet these expectations, I believe that the offer must be on brand and thus fully aligned with what the museum's mission, vision, and values resemble, reinforcing the stories that you want to tell as a museum. And the offer must also be financially sustainable. They can and they must generate meaningful revenue that supports the museum's long-term resilience. And that evolution is becoming even more important. As we all know, public funding decreases while operational costs and also expectations, they increase. And maximizing secondary spend through thoughtful retail and dining is now a strategic necessity, since this helps museums maintain high quality programming and continue attracting audiences.
Well, we joined the project at quite an unusual time because obviously a large part of the museum is not accessible to visitors right now. So it gave us an exciting opportunity to work with all of your teams, from learning to curatorial and some of the exhibitions team as well. So I guess, could you tell us a little bit about how retail and dining can reinforce a museum's core narrative and how we're creating that seamless experience so that it doesn't feel like an add-on or a commercial interruption?
For us, retail and dining, and that's also what we have really been working on, right? Retail and dining reinforce a museum's core narrative when they are designed as integral parts of the visitor journey rather than standalone commercial spaces. And that requires a shared approach across all touch points, including, for example, interior design, but also staff behavior, product selection, and programming, so that visitors experience a consistent story from the moment they enter to the moment they leave. And at the heart of this is a clear red thread that ties everything together. That thread comes directly from your museum's purpose and vision, the core of what you do. And when those foundations guide decisions, the commercial areas naturally feel like extensions of the museum's mission rather than interruptions. And I believe we are working very hard on implementing that, right, James? So storytelling plays a key role there by using the museum's unique stories to shape retail collections, menus, its visual identity and experiences. Yeah, we can create something visitors only get from that museum, from your museum. And that makes the offer feel authentic and memorable, but also meaningful. And that helps sustain the emotional and intellectual impact on the visitor's behavior, also long after they have left the museum. And that is important to the Natural History Museum Denmark, because every commercial space is told through the lens of the museum. Its history, its collections, research, and its role in Danish society today. And that ensures that each interaction, whether in retail or F&B, reinforces our scientific and cultural mission as well.
And yeah, we've worked hard to extend storytelling and curation into all of the spaces, so people always feel connected to the heart of the museum and the collections that the museum is there to share with the world. I wonder if you could just explain a little bit about your thought process when it comes to balancing the authenticity and storytelling that we've worked so hard to bring through, but also balance that with commercial performance as well.
Yeah, well, for me, authenticity and commercial performance are not opposites. When retail and dining are truly authentic, rooted in this museum's purpose and stories that I mentioned before, they actually enhance commercial performance, I believe. Authenticity means staying close to who we are, right? And at the Natural History Museum Denmark, this means empowering the connection between people and nature and inspiring to those people to enjoy, understand, and care for the natural world. So when our commercial areas reinforce that purpose, they feel meaningful rather than sales driven. And that strengthens both engagement and revenue. So we balance authenticity and commercial performance by being as consistent as we can in our storytelling across architecture, exhibitions, and the broader visitor experience. So we start by translating the museum's purpose and mission into something tangible, which then guides all design and operational decisions in our interior design project as well. So storytelling, I believe, James, we have used as the bridge between authenticity and commercial performance. When we share our unique stories through products, through menus, interior design and experiences, visitors understand the value behind what they are buying. And that enriches their visit, it increases emotional connection, and naturally leads to stronger commercial outcomes as well, because people are more likely to spend, to return, and to recommend the museum to others. So for me, authenticity drives commercial performance.
I also think an unexpected outcome from this project has been also to get all of your teams across the whole museum engaged in the commercial side of the project, which, you know, everything you're talking about there is from the visitor's perspective, but it's been exciting to see how the unexpected connections we've made with other parts of the museum as well.
Yeah, and they've been very eager and are still very eager to contribute. And that is wonderful to see, and a unexpected bonus, I think, of the project.
So how do you feel about flexibility within retail and F&B concepts, especially when we're tying in such rich stories? How do we make them flexible to adapt to changing visitor expectations, and seasonal demand as well?
Yeah, well, I think we have worked with your team to design flexible retail and F&B spaces by building concepts that can adapt to changing visitor expectations, and also the strong seasonal patterns that we obviously see in the botanical garden that is surrounding us. Practically, that means that we can reconfigure modular shop fixtures for peak spring, summer traffic or major exhibitions, and rotating collections tied to our stories. So the offer feels fresh and relevant. And on the F&B side, we design menus around seasonality and local supply. Also, of course, in line with the core of what the Nordic cuisine is about. Additionally, in summer, we scale with garden-friendly service formats, grab and go, the kiosks in the botanical garden, and outdoor points of sale at the botanical garden shop.
And again, on that point around seasonality, I mean, the new museum and the garden is such a destination within the city, in a city that's very well known for its wonderful food and design.
Yeah.
I'm sure you're probably going to mention this anyway, but I think that also kind of gave us a big aspiration for what we're aiming to do within the museum, so that these spaces become destinations in their own right as well.
Absolutely.
So could you talk to us a little bit about how sustainability goals are influencing your product sourcing, menu design, supply chains in your museum shops, and also in dining?
Well, as a museum for natural history, sustainability is a leading principle in all the choices we make across retail, dining, and their supply chains. It's at the core, really, of what we are as a museum, and it directly supports also our mission to inspire people to make more sustainable choices in their own lives. So this commitment influences every step of the sourcing and menu or product design process. It sometimes takes longer to find the right suppliers, but it also makes our decision-making easier because we have a clear framework for what we want and thus what we can dismiss. We look at the entire chain, for example, transport and supplier location. We prioritize Danish suppliers then Scandinavian, and then European, avoiding long distance transport from places like China or the US whenever possible, to reduce the carbon footprint, but also to promote local makers. When looking at receiving and handling products in food and beverage, this is more straightforward. Our ambition to work with local producers also allows us to control origin, seasonality, and CO2 impact, obviously. Having a focus on packaging and product design in retail, we encourage suppliers to rethink, for example, packaging and reduce waste. Plastic is a no-go. We also focus on sourcing and developing products that reflect our mission, items that inspire people to enjoy, understand, and care for the diversity of the natural world. And regarding our menu design in F&B, our menus highlight seasonal, locally sourced vegetables as the main focus, and that's a natural thing to do in the Nordic cuisine, as I just mentioned, here in Denmark and Copenhagen specifically, with items like poultry or fish as a supplement rather than the centerpiece. And that shifts consumption patterns towards a lower environmental footprint while still offering high quality dining. So I think summarizing in essence, sustainability is not an add-on for us. It is the guiding lens through which we design our entire commercial offer, and it shapes what we source, what we serve, what we sell, and ultimately how we demonstrate our values to visitors through every part of their experience.
I think that's what's exciting, the lens and the kind of purpose and all the things that you're talking about around the museum are actually not restrictive. They're opening up opportunities to rethink your approach and sort of showcase innovation, which if when the museum's reopened and the visitors have understood that, it will only build loyalty because they'll trust what you're aiming for.
Absolutely.
So you've already mentioned this project is more than 12 years in the making, but what do you think that museum retail and dining will look like in the next 5 to 10 years?
Well, I think that in 5 to 10 years, people will still want a meaningful day out. In a world shaped by rapid technological change and increasing tensions, the desire for human connection and a real physical experience will only grow stronger. And museums should therefore not focus solely on new technology. I believe they need to make sure that the fundamentals are right, that there are welcoming spaces where people feel at ease, can connect with others, and can be inspired. And retail and dining will play a key role in creating that grounded, authentic human experience, I believe.
So you've just talked about consumption and people making, I guess, better choices, particularly in the museum world and attraction retail. People are really investing their time in coming to your destination. And I think that that's a great opportunity for the future of museum retail and visitor attraction retail to really provide meaningful products and experiences. But I wonder, what's one innovation that you've seen perhaps inside or outside the museum sector that you believe museums can learn from?
Yeah, I think that meaningfulness part is tied to the example of one innovation that I admire, and that is the Future Makers program at Fruit Market Gallery in Edinburgh. They invited a group of Scotland's most exciting makers who are at different stages of their careers to respond directly to their exhibitions and create bespoke merchandise. And each collection reimagines what exhibition merchandise can be: thoughtful, beautifully crafted, and connected to the art that inspired it. What I find especially innovative is the way the program supports young local makers. For me, this is a model of collaboration, creativity, and sustainable design that museums can learn a great deal from. You could do the same with local makers who work with traditional techniques, often skills at risk of disappearing. Here in Denmark, for example, makers work with honest natural materials like wool, clay, paper, glass. It's an approach that champions sustainability, craftsmanship, and social impact. And by giving these makers and craftspeople a meaningful platform offered by your institution.
I think the theme of community and not just becoming a transactional space, it's almost beyond transaction, and the ripple effect that you can create both before and after, and can every way that's possibly connected to your experiences is really exciting. And again, as we said, with Copenhagen's rich design and craft and food culture, very exciting for you to be able to draw from. So I guess last question, this is something we ask all our speakers. What's the biggest challenge that you're facing at this moment?
Well, at the moment, it's very down to earth. My biggest challenge is balancing the realization of several projects within the major new museum project with the daily operations of our existing venues. On the one hand, we are running tenders, planning fit outs, and reorganizing internally to ensure that we are fully operational for the new museum. And on the other hand, we welcome visitors every single day in the garden and our existing museum location. And it is essential that every one of the visitors has a great experience also today, while making sure that our teams delivering that experience stay in balance and feel supported. And across everything, we constantly need to keep our purpose in mind, how we can create positive change for people and planet through every decision we make in creating that new museum building and delivering that visitor experience for our existing visitors. Had to have our museum's mission at the core of everything that we do. That is a continuous challenge, but also a fun one.
So you're on the final stretch almost to reopening the museum. Could you tell us when people can expect to visit?
Well, we hope to open in the spring of 2027. So, and an opening date will be announced in the course of this spring. So stay tuned.
I can't wait. Well, thank you very much, Anne-Marie, and also thank you to Carl, who joined us earlier. At the end of this session, we're going to be announcing the winner of the award for the retail and dining category as part of this year's Blue Loop Festival of Innovation. And thank you to all of you for joining and listening to this session. I hope you found it interesting. Thank you again.
And now for the winners of the Blue Loop Innovation Awards 2025 Retail and Dining category. Third place, Dasai Blue Sake Brewery from Local Projects. Second place, Loop 5, the Shopping Experience Centre from Dan Perlman Group. First place, Haunted Mansion Parlour from Walt Disney Imagineering. Congratulations to all of the winners.